Okay, as you know, we are sponsored by Chicago Commons, and joining us is Terence Santos de la Rosa Sims, Vice President of Senior Services. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm doing swell-tastic. I want to talk to you about some things that seniors need to really think about and families alike. When it comes to just making the decision of what to do with our families when it's that time and when it's time to start talking about long-term care planning. I'm talking about partnering up with a family member, a friend, someone close to you so that you can start having that conversation. But how do you begin that conversation with someone you love?
The best time is earlier than most people think. Ideally, before there's a crisis. If you wait until a fall or a diagnosis or hospitalization, you're making a big decision under stress. A good way to start is by keeping it casual and focus on preferences, not problems. For example, you can ask a question like, if you ever needed extra help at home, what would you like for yourself? Framing it around maintaining independence rather than losing it helps people feel more comfortable and in control. Families often feel when something has changed, even before it's medically confirmed, those moments are important signals. Starting the conversation early allows families to plan thoughtfully rather than react during a crisis.
I like that. It's being proactive instead of reactive. And, I think about how you said, don't talk about what you're going to lose. Talk about maintaining and keeping what you already have. Because the moment someone hears that they're losing something, they've already checked out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some key components to knowing or to maintaining a conversation like that and being a strong long-term care plan, such as just basic needs, daily needs, routines, medical care? What are some strong components?
Yeah, when I think about it, I would recommend a solid care plan usually covers four main areas. Daily living needs, as you just stated, things like bathing, dressing, meals, laundry, transportation, running errands, medical care, medications, doctor's visits, managing chronic conditions if there are any existing, living arrangements, whether the person will stay at home, move in with family, or consider assisted living. And then what a lot of people don't want to think about, and they usually kind of miss this sometimes, is the financial planning, understanding costs, insurance coverage, and budgeting for care. The strongest plans are typically personalized. There's no one size fits all approach. However, for many people, remaining at home is often more affordable and emotionally preferable than institutional care. However, as needs increase, families need to balance independence with safety and the appropriate support needed.
How do people, knowing that those needs are increasing, just watching your loved one as they move into the phase of needing more care, more hands-on, how do you even prepare for that? Becoming a caregiver, a more hands-on caregiver, because you may start off with maybe some errands here and there and taking them to doctor's appointments and getting groceries, and then it turns into becoming more of a partner when meeting with the doctors and an advocate, listening for what the key role would be for, or the key role would be for the needs of that person. How do you prepare for the evolution of their needs?
I think flexibility is key. A care plan shouldn't just be a one-time document. It should evolve over time. Long-term care planning should be flexible and regularly revisited, especially as health conditions change. If your health actually, if it deteriorates over time, hopefully not, but if it does, I think regular check-ins every few months or after a health change help ensure that the plan stays aligned with reality. Start with what's needed today, but build in room to kind of scale up care if necessary. For example, you might begin with a few hours of home care each week and gradually increase support as your loved one or your senior actually changes in their health condition. But to even add more to that, loved ones want to take care of themselves, and they do a good job. You can cook, you can clean, and all those other things. But for example, here at Chicago Commons, it's more of a formalized process. There's a training process. There's pre-service training hours that go into the knowledge, the skill sets, and understanding what it takes to really take care of your loved one. And then we have in-service hours that are mandatory annually, just to keep you abreast of things that are changing within health, within the industry of healthcare and things like that, which really gives that caregiver more skill, more knowledge, and more understanding beyond what you do typically at home. Again, not to negate anything that a person may do at home for their family member, but to really understand what it means to really have the skills and knowledge to be a caregiver beyond, the day-to-day of taking care of your loved one is critical to their success, especially if you want them to age in place.
And, just to think about all of that, there has to be some types of resources that are necessary, or just professionals, people who know what this journey is like, that we should get involved with building these care plans. Because if someone were to come to just anyone who's never put one together, they wouldn't know where to start. So what kinds of resources or professionals should families involve when building a care plan or considering one?
Depending on the health status of that individual, and this is applicable to just anybody, not just seniors, but I know we're specifically talking about seniors, it really takes a team. A strong care plan is typically built with input from physicians who provide medical assessments and documentation, a case manager who evaluates the client's needs in the home, social workers, especially during hospital stays or discharge planning. When skilled care is needed, coordinated, so in-home caregivers and visiting nurses can complement each other. So that's when you weigh in with home care services and home health, which are two different things, basic needs versus clinical attention that may need to be involved. And then the financial piece, an elder law attorney for legal planning, a financial advisor who understands long-term care costs. The bottom line is bringing in professionals early can prevent costly mistakes and give families peace of mind.
Love it. Love it. I think about everything that you said, because in going through this with my father, there was no long-term care plan. There were no resources that we had at our fingertips. And if we had known about Chicago Commons, oh my goodness, the 5 years that we've spent trying to figure this out probably would have looked differently. How can you involve your loved ones in the planning process? Because I'm struggling, even 5 years later, with assigning and delegating to different loved ones in our family. And what should you do if they resist?
LaDonna, that's a great question. Involving your loved ones is essential. They should feel heard and respected. Ask about their preferences, their routines, and what matters most to them. A lot of times when we think we know what's best for our loved ones know what's best for themselves as well. So they need to and deserve to and have the right to weigh in that. Whenever possible, loved ones should be actively involved in the planning process. And if you want to take it a step further, where you're thinking about what resources are out there, if you're looking at adult day services or home care services, take a tour. Sign up to take a tour, care facilities together, encouraging socialization and opportunities, building trust and reassurance that family support will continue. Keep in mind that resistance is common, so it's okay. It's no reason to have anxiety or stress out about it, especially when leaving home feels like a loss of independence. If they resist, that's very normal, so just take a step back, breathe, redirect it. It often comes from the fear of losing independence. Instead of pushing, try small steps, incremental steps like introducing a caregiver for light help or companionship, which kind of gets them a little integrated into understanding what steps may be next. For individuals that may have Alzheimer's and dementia, because we have quite a few seniors, and Chicago Commons is an evidence-based resource, so we are really trained in that area to address those things. Familiar routines and preferences still matter, even in early or moderate stages. Small choices, what to eat, when to bathe. It helps preserve the dignity of the individual You want to avoid forcing decisions in moments of resistance. You want to pause and revisit it later. It also helps to focus on benefits that they care about, like staying in their own home longer if possible. Over time, as trust builds, resistance usually softens and everybody begins to be on the same page. And not only just accepting the next steps of care, continuum of care, but embracing it.
I hear it. You make it sound so easy. But, I think about, and I'm going to please edit out all these think abouts, Titus. With, but I am thinking when what if you have as the saying goes, you may have too many cooks in the kitchen. The more family members you get involved, the more you're going to have to go in many different directions. And I know you spoke about getting everyone on the same page, but expecting resistance is definitely good advice. What happens when you just can't make a decision and the easiest thing to do is nothing?
Well, you know what? From a personal standpoint, I think in anything in life we do, we should understand what humility actually means. And you get when a family is trying to come together and everybody comes together for the same purpose, people have their own ideas. They have their own perspectives. They think they know what's best for this person versus this person. Well, I know this. I've known this person longer than you, or this person raised me, or we're closer. All of those type of things. I think people need to really centralize their humility and say, hey, despite the strong personalities and what direction you want to go in, somebody has to say, hey, I'm going to be at the helm of this, but I'm going to include everybody. So you really have to kind of determine, and I don't want to say dictate, because dictate is kind of a strong word, but make an informed decision as to, okay, this person is going to guide this process, but they're going to
delegate.
Absolutely. Yeah, delegate that we can agree upon. And there may be some resistance in that. Well, why do you want this person? Why do you want this person? But somebody has to do it. And when you really think about the responsibility that comes with guiding and being that leader that's taking that helm, you'd be surprised how many people don't have the time to really take on all the things that are involved. Because it's much more than calling, making a phone call. You have to have ongoing conversations. There may be emails involved. There may be informal meetings, formal meetings, going to visit these sites. And that takes time. And everybody has their own lives and what they do, and everybody's busy. So somebody has to do it. So that would be my approach personally, because I've seen it a lot across the board. I've even seen it in my own family. So
I was expecting that, really, because it could definitely be a challenge. Now, Terence, before I let you go, how can people get involved or contact Chicago Commons for their own? Terence, before I let you go, can you tell everybody how to get in touch with Chicago Commons?
Sure. You can call us at 773-373-5055. Or you can reach us, look us up on the web at www.chicagocommons.org. And I'll add one even more. If you are listening to this on WVON, ask for me personally, and I will ensure that I get back to you or my staff gets back to you expeditiously.
I love it. Terence De La Rosa Sims. I just love saying your name.
You do it. You say it very well.
All right. Good deal. We'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate you. See you next time.